Good morning. My name is Emily and I'm an interior design intern at Uptic Studios here in Spokane, and this is a day in my life. All right, let's get started. A lot of Uptic staff park closer to the office, but parking further saves a few dollars a day, and honestly, I love this walk. It makes me feel connected to the city, which is a lot more fun now than it was when I was a kid. Spokane can be a more diverse town, but I love seeing all the people and art and architecture here. We do have a lot of homeless people in downtown, but I've always felt safe and a lot of people will say good morning. I love this part of my day. I usually get to work about 8:30 and I'm working full-time right now for school credit. As long as I get my hours in and work around deadlines or meetings, my schedule is really flexible, and if you were wondering, it is paid. Here we are. Welcome. I'm just going to start by checking a few emails and getting organized to start my day.
So yeah, Uptic Studios does a range of projects from commercial to residential, primarily small to medium scale, I would say. Do a lot of kind of what I would call like third places, where mostly like breweries, restaurants, and then a lot of high-end residential ranging in sizes from small cabins to large mansions, larger homes on lakes. I'd say the style is kind of contemporary Northwestern, lots of exposed beams and shed roofs, really trying to kind of capture the amazing context that we're fortunate enough to surround ourselves with in the Northwest.
So today's Monday, which means that we have an all-office meeting, and we usually start the meeting by going around the table and seeing how everyone's weekend was and what they have going on. And then we talk about admin things, like maybe we have a team lunch or we have a problem to resolve. And then from there we like to go through our project list, which helps us figure out what needs to get done next and who is helping out with it, and it becomes this roadmap for the rest of our week. Okay, if I had to give a handful of tips to anyone who's starting out an internship, I think there's about 5 things that have really helped me to do well so far. And the first one is staying really organized. So having sticky notes, keeping track of what you need to get done, who you need to get back to will pay you back in the long run. Organizing samples will help you in the long run a lot. The second thing I think is being really communicative. Ask lots of questions. You're an intern, so people expect it. And if you don't know about something, it's a great time to learn. Be sure to ask about deadlines so that you know exactly how long you should be taking on projects. And when you make mistakes, know that that's completely okay. You're an intern. If you're learning from your mistakes, then that's how it's supposed to go, but it's not personal when you get a critique. It's just how everyone goes through this. I think the last thing is to keep a really good attitude. You're gonna get tasks that might seem a bit menial at times. Anyone can put things back on shelves, but how much effort and good attitude you put into those projects is a really good telltale sign of how much effort and good attitude you'll put into bigger projects. And that's going to be really important to make sure that you are doing your best work on all these different levels. So make sure to have a good attitude toward everyone else in the office, as well as to any project that gets thrown your way, because they're all good opportunities and you're going to learn from every single one of them. This is Julie. She's a co-founder of Uptic Studios and the head designer, and importantly, she's my boss. So after the Monday meeting, I like to check in with her and we run through each project and figure out how I can support her the best this week.
As you're working, you're going to have a lot of questions, and I think that what is good is if you First try to figure it out yourself, but don't spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. Like, do some research, maybe do an internet search to try and figure it out. If you can't figure it out, write it down, and if you can keep moving, to try to move on to something different and kind of come up with a list of questions, and then go talk to somebody else, maybe the boss or somebody sitting next to you, and say like, hey, can I ask you a list of questions? That way you're not like bugging them every 15 minutes with a question. You can kind of hit them with a few at once. But there's kind of a balance where you want to try to problem solve and figure it out, but you don't want to burn up too much time doing that. So it's trying to kind of learn the balance. And I would say the other one is try to learn how fast you do things, because a really important skill is to be able to estimate how long it takes for you to do things. So what I recommend is that before you start any project, you take a guess at how long it will take, and I write that down. And this is what somebody told me when I was an intern, when I was in college. And I would write down what I thought the number of hours it would take, and then I would finish it and then look at what I wrote down and compare it with how long it actually took, and started to analyze that. And what my boss told me was that his rule of thumb is it usually takes 2.5 times longer than you think. And I remember thinking like, that's ridiculous. But then I started keeping track, and he was pretty close. So then I became better at trying to guess how long it'll take. That way, when your boss says, I need this thing done, how long will it take? You can really give a much better, much more accurate guess of what it'll take. And that's a super valuable skill to have that they really like. So.
A big part of my job involves the materials library, so I order in materials for both architectural and interiors, and from there I put them away, or I put them into trays for the project that they belong to. And I like this, honestly, because it helps me to get to know all the materials by organizing them, and I get to work with reps a lot when I order the materials, and reps know everything there is to know about their product. They're awesome networking. I really like this part of my job.
Advice to interns would be proactive. I would say it's tough to kind of get into a firm and push yourself into the kind of day-to-day grind, because it is so fast-paced that if you're not proactive, it's easy for those that are in the firm to not necessarily forget, but just to have that lapse in leading you to the next project. So be proactive about what you want to learn, what your goals are, and then also kind of take the initiative to set yourself on that path, even if it's not prescribed that clearly. Because really the internship is for you to kind of guide where you want to go. And really that's a lot on you to figure out. We're here to kind of help with that and kind of get you the base skills, but really you have your passions and your knowledge already in development, so I would say stick to those and then be proactive about pursuing them.
So right now I'm looking through a copy of some floor plans and interior elevations for residents, and these plans are pretty close to being done. The designers draw the meat of the design, but I usually help them out by setting up the sheet layouts beforehand, and then I'll dimension and I'll do some annotations after. And even as an intern, there can be a lot to keep track of, so finding ways to organize that work for you they're so important. I usually try to take care of the quick tasks right away to make sure that I don't lose track of them, and then I move on to the longer ones. But I check in with the team a lot, and I write down everything. I give my work to Sierra to mark corrections, which is also called redlining, and she passes those notes back to me to update in the plans. Sierra's amazing. She's so thorough and so kind when I make mistakes. I really appreciate her. And this project's pretty big. We've done red lines on it 15 to 20 times as the design's been updated. And this project has been really cool to work on because I've worked directly with the design team and the architect and the contractor along the way. And Julie took me to go and see it in construction last week, so I've gotten to see it both on paper and in the real world as well.
Well, let's see. I started here at Uptic December 2019, so almost a year now. I came on part-time, just working after school, and then I finally moved on full-time this spring after I finished school. I love it. Yeah, it's great. It's a great team to work with. I've been doing a lot with 3D modeling and the design and producing something physical that the customers can look at, and so that's what we have here. It's the industry, like top of the industry, 3D printer, the best we can get. And here are some of the ones we've done previously. We're really working on just how to hone in on like what's the best product we can produce for the customer, and what looks the best. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of design, a lot of pre-design, a lot of remodeling, a lot of schematic design, floor plan design, just helping out wherever I can.
And these come from SketchUp models.
Yes, yeah. So they will take like a pretty hefty, or basic but hefty, thick SketchUp model, and then put it into the software that goes with this 3D printer, and it will spit out what it will print, and then we hit print, and it goes for a day or 2 or 3, depending on how big it is, and it comes out pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We do lots of modeling on all of our projects. It helps the client to see early on if they like the design direction, and Interiors uses it before we draw in CAD or Revit because it helps us to understand how the details line up from one wall to the next and to gauge how the space will feel overall. We build what we call white models from the architectural plans, and it's an all-white SketchUp model with all the architectural details like walls and beams and doors to build the interior models, and then we render later on.
If you work really extra hard, the dividends will pay off. And I think sometimes when maybe your experience is working at a job where you're just paid more hourly, it's like, well, I'm off the clock, so now I'm going home. But as an architect, they can continue thinking things through after you go home and kind of ponder them. And sometimes I think that there's a work-life balance that you should keep, and you don't want to have a firm take advantage of you. But at the same time, you have to be willing to, put in the extra effort when it's called for. When there are deadlines, or the other thing too is like you should just love what you do. Just make sure that you are in a place that you enjoy, and that life is too short to not enjoy what you do. And I think that I love teaching, that's why I'm a teacher. But I also love architecture, and I think if you don't love it, maybe move around and try something different. And of course, before you jump ship, you should always talk to your boss and just say like, is there some other things that I could try out? Do your best to try and have things change where you're at before you ever try to jump ship. I'd say it's pretty important.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So my first internship was at a different firm in town that is much larger and much more commercial, and really there's no way to get the same experience that you get in the field that you do get in school. They're two sides of a coin. Having the opportunity to see how professionals actually interact with clients, being able to sit in on those meetings, being able to go on more site tours, to see how the project works from start to finish, and how the architects are part of that, and the electrical is part of that, and engineers, all of that. You only get a piece of that when you're in school, and being able to see it as a part of the whole is really huge. And I think one more takeaway is just that, you know, with an internship, you just jump into it with an open mind and a good work ethic, and you can do anything. You're gonna learn a lot no matter where you go. Every experience is a bit different, but if you're just kind of ready for that and you can brace yourself and you take a deep breath and go, then you're gonna do great at any internship that you apply for.
Thanks for coming along today, and best of luck with all of your internships.